I'm looking at the time because it's the time you have on the earth. You have so many heartbeats, so many seconds, so many years. And some of that is dictated by your DNA and by your habits. But the truth is, we think now we've gotten into anti-aging and gotten into a huge industry which could amount to $93 billion. But let's take a step back. 500, 600 years ago, Ponce de Leon looked for the fountain of youth. What if that fountain of youth was already available to you in the way you take care of yourself, in your habits, in your lifestyles, in some of the things you do? And what if mechanistically we start to understand what parts of your cellular machinery and DNA are affected? There's something called a epigenetic clock. And what they're finding is, you can see how fast you're aging. There may be ways to reverse it. Now the question is, would you want that? So from the time we're born, at least for now, there's a time we're gonna pass. And that's dictated by a combination of your genes and your lifestyles and your exposure. I'm sure you guys have caught the recent series called The Blue Zone on Netflix. And that's been an excellent kind of exploration of what different societies do and what is peculiar about them. Like take the Japanese with caloric restriction. The idea is that you eat to 80% of full. In a number of animal experiments, when animals were placed into quote-unquote starvation states, the body mechanistically slowed down metabolism. It's also been shown in humans with regard to cancer therapy, in that the fastest growing cells consume the most amount of nutrients, and when you starve those cells, they actually die faster. So in cancer patients, when we starved them to some degree and put them on a caloric deficiency diet, they did have better outcomes. Could that be used then as one of the mechanisms, as they attributed to in the Blue Zone in Japan, for instance? There's also medications like rapamycin, which was used in transplants and became a hot buzzword because it was shown in some animals to improve lifespans. In its case, what it does is decreases inflammation and also blocks certain processes, but research is being done. Then there's parabiosis, where you take the blood of a younger animal, which may have stem cells or other things, and put it into an older animal of the same species. And what they found in that situation is that in some cases it extends the life of the older animal. Now the question is, mechanistically, what really is going on? We know in humans, when you have an injury or a wound, early states, the wound healing is much better, and as you get older, that wound will leave scarring. But perhaps let's make this a little simpler. What are the macroscopic things you can do right now which may improve your longevity? And while we don't know exactly what this is, they are shown to be beneficial. The first is diet, right? Caloric restrictions, no overeating, lack of metabolic syndrome, and lack of obesity have been shown to improve aging. They don't lend themselves to chronic disease like heart disease, diabetes, and all these other very, very damaging processes. But the second thing is, overeating, you can get increased belly fat, and with that, a huge nidus for inflammation is something you don't want under normal conditions. The next thing we've talked about is staying physically active. Exercise works on so many levels in basically our systems and making sure that they can react. And what I'm talking about is not over exercising, but at least doing 150 minutes a week. But we've talked about that in another episode where we talk about exercise at any age and what the recommendations are. And a lot of that was based on aging and some of the other things. But what's critical is exercise also helps with your mental well-being. It helps with your balance. It helps with your flexibility. It helps with keeping your muscles and your joints in shape. And so long as you're not abusing yourself and over-exercising, chances are exercising in and of itself will improve your longevity, and that's been shown. We've talked about this on the channel before, but smoking is a definite no-no. On average, smoking decreases your life by 10 years. Your lungs, your heart, and your end organs actually improve once you stop smoking. When you stop smoking, you're giving yourself a chance at life. Albeit, the earlier you do it, the better off you are. And we've talked about that in Should I Smoke as a video on the channel. So refer back to that, but I would say if you want to live a long and healthy life, don't smoke. Cut down on drinking, or don't drink at all. 3 months ago, I went, vegan, and teetotaler, and you can see it. But the bottom line is, I want to live 100 years with you guys. And I'm trying to design platforms and processes where we can all be healthy together. But the problem with drinking is not just when you drink heavy. Certainly that has its own share of both synergistic complications with smoking, but in and of itself, problems with middle metabolism, liver damage, kidney damage, cancers in your GI tract, as well as heart disease and diabetes. But even in small proportions, drinking ends up making many people eat more. And with it, you end up with metabolic issues and with obesity. So I would say on the whole, while we haven't eliminated drinking completely, and you're gonna call me someone who's preaching to you, I'm not. I think it's up to you. Either limit or eliminate drinking as one of your habits, and you will live much longer and better. The next is take care of your skin. You know what? Your skin has to be with you for a lifetime. And as you get older, like I said, with kids' skin, it's continuously healing. If you're Caucasian, you don't have the melanin to protect. With sun damage from UV rays, you are doing damage to the dermis and epidermis and all layers. And with that, you will end up with significant scar formation in the way of aging in your neck and your exposed surfaces. But in addition to that, you also put yourself at risk for all types of cancers like melanoma. In people of color, people with melanin in their skins, they still have a risk. And they fare better because the melanin does help them give some protection against skin damage, but it's not 100%. So I've talked about this in another episode, but you need to wear sunscreen whenever you go out. You need to moisturize. And then washing and hygiene are very important because the bacteria on the skin can do damage in the way of comedos and acne. Now, one interesting side point, you see all these people getting things done on their face, but how you can tell what someone's age is by the areas they don't protect. And generally that's in the neck and in the dorsum of their hand. And when you see the skin there, you can actually see what the sun damage is, because that's frequently an area where they don't moisturize or potentially put sunscreen. So the point is, protect those areas. Don't just put it on your face and your ears, put it on your neck and your hands and all exposed surfaces. The next way to protect against aging is to be happy, not be lonely, and avoid stress. Loneliness has been shown to decrease your life by potentially 15 years. It's like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And in numerous studies in various parts of the world, in societies which were well connected and had good neighbor structures and good family structures where people talked to each other, the lifespans were much longer. Perhaps some of that is the fact that social interaction keeps you grounded and gives you help when you need it and detects illnesses so you can come to care sooner. Perhaps some of that is also the happiness equation where people are around you who actually care and love you. Right? And then finally, with the stress, if you can practice mindfulness and protect yourself from stress and develop mechanisms whereby you offset those things, you will definitely live longer. And that's been shown with heart disease, numerous other chronic diseases, that stress makes them worse. And so if you can control your stress, you actually do much better. And a couple final ones. Sleep. Sleep is the unsung hero for all us champions who are hardworking and never get any. I went years as a surgical resident and as a surgeon, and even when I was studying, with very little sleep. Just remember this, that if you can sleep 6 to 8 hours a night consistently at regular intervals, meaning that your sleep hours are regulated, bed is your protective cocoon, and it's defragmenting your brain and organizing your memories, as well as allowing your bodily processes to regenerate. We take this for granted, but there are actually studies showing that sleep deprivation actually worsens outcomes in chronic diseases, as well as diminishing lifespans. Take that to heart. There's a lot of these new rings, and we've talked about in other episodes about the type of technology coming out. But even if you can get a diary and practice sleep hygiene, and practice healthy processes for your devices and putting things away. We've talked about this in previous episodes. I did a 4-part series on sleep. You should definitely see it. I enjoyed it thoroughly because I learned a lot, and a lot of what I do is for you and for me so that we both learn together. Improving your social network can increase your odds of survival by 50%. In fact, having 3 network ties can improve your survival by 200%. Is that because they pick up the phone when you need them to and come and help you or go out to dinner with you? Who knows? But the bottom line is, we talked about this, that loneliness is a curse. In conclusion, this is the primer on aging and longevity. We've given you some generic tools which have been shown consistently to improve outcomes. As we move forward, I'm going to do more episodes on this, where we're looking at specific mechanisms, specific hormones, specific medications which are coming out. And some of these I'll try to describe in an easier way through reels and other mechanisms. This one, I think, is good enough to start with. But look, aging is a natural process. I think if you can look into yourself and look into your life and kind of chronicle how you're living it, and look at what the evidence suggests, you will improve your life significantly. Now, the question is, mechanistically, how does that work? And we're trying to find the cures. Can we use real science to kind of push that along? 100%. And I see in my lifetime that we're going to find some things which are revolutionary, not evolutionary. You understand the difference, that evolution has to happen when it's survival of the fittest and death of the weakest. In revolution, you basically all get involved, intervene before that evolution is there. And with the genes or the cards you're dealt, we learn how to play that hand. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope this helps. It's only the beginning of the longevity piece, because this is something that our platforms are designed for and trying to improve. And you'll see more of that as we move forward. As always, like, subscribe, and share, and hit the bell icon so that we can grow this channel. And leave in the comments below what your thoughts are on these different things, and also tell me if there's other things which you think are beneficial. As always, I've left the links in the description, and these are all from evidence-based studies. And as we progress, we include even more things which will help you understand this. Again, thanks for joining me. It's always a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.